The secret to effective grumbling and complaining. There's a lectionary text from Exodus 16 verses 2 to 15 today, and it's a wonderful story, and it caught me in a different, powerful way today. I'm not saying my interpretation of scriptural text is right. My interpretation may be wrong, but man, this one that came to me works for me today, so I offer it to you. Take what's helpful, leave the rest. It's the story of the Israelites who have escaped Egypt. And they're out in the wilderness and they're struggling. It's hard, it's challenging. They're beginning to say to Moses and Aaron, hey, why did you bring us out here to Egypt? We want to go back to Egypt. Why are we out here? We're going to die. We don't have anything to eat. We don't have anything to drink. And they start complaining and grumbling. You see, I can identify with that. I'm a complainer and a grumbler. That's not who I really am, my true self, but it's that ego, it's that false self. I complain and grumble all the time. And it's tiresome, not only to others, but to myself. I guess it's one of my spiritual gifts, complaining and grumbling. Can you identify with that? It seems to be our human nature, man. We have this negativity bias. We're always looking for the negative and complaining and grumbling. And in this story, 6 times in this short passage and story, it talks about complaining and grumbling. And then we know that God comes through. God provides manna in the morning and meat at night. Manna that's on the ground and quail that descend in the evening. It's like a duck hunter's paradise. But proper grumbling, what's the secret to effective grumbling and complaining? Here's my take on it this morning. Proper grumbling and complaining is not about complaining and grumbling to people, but to God. And it's actually a sign of faith when we do that. So stop. Moses says, hey, stop complaining to me and Aaron, implying we can't do anything about it. Go to the source. Complain and grumble to the one who can do something about it. Stop complaining to us and grumble to God. No one wants to hear, don't you find this to be true? No one wants to hear our grumbling and complaining anyways, except God does. Plus, our grumbling and complaining doesn't do any good. We complain and we grumble to people who can't do anything about it. And it just is a contagious virus, and it grows and grows and grows. Start grumbling and complaining to the one who can do something about it. It's the spiritual discipline of grumbling and complaining, and to make that a spiritual habit. So here it is. Stop complaining and grumbling to people. Start complaining and grumbling to God. People can't do anything about it, and it just brings people down, whether they want to admit it or not. No one wants to hear your grumbling and complaining except a therapist who you'll pay $150 to. It's boring, it does no good, and it solves no problem, but we do it anyways. Grumbling and complaining that solves the problem is to go to God with it and lament to God about it. That's a sign of faith, to share our heart, to share our realness with God. And even in our grumbling and complaining to God, God loves us in it because we're being real with Him. And God is big enough to handle whatever we throw out to God. And God's mercy, care, and compassion is experienced as He receives our grumbling and complaining and doesn't condemn us for it. Yes, we are anxious and we're afraid all the time. And we live in a world that's anxious and afraid all the time. Grumble and complain to God. Go to the source. God doesn't hold it against us. because he holds us even in it. Doesn't hold it against you because he holds you and me. We're like toddlers who have temper tantrums, and we have these constantly, and we grumble and we complain and we have a temper tantrum. And God says to us, I know. It's okay. Come to me. I understand. Share it with me. And everything's going to be okay. You see, there's a passage, I can't get into it now, but they go out, the gathered community goes out, and instead of grumbling and complaining, they look together and they see God's presence in the cloud. So here it is also. Our grumbling and complaining, it doesn't mean that something magical is going to happen and God is going to answer it just like that. It's not magic. It's not magic for manna and meat that magically appear, but it's the miracle of God's presence and provision that we will experience. Oh, yeah, it is. So, in whatever way you need it. So I'll end with that beautiful hymn. Guide me, O thou great Jehovah, pilgrim through this barren land. I am weak, I am weak, I am weak, but you are mighty, and you hold me by your powerful hand. Bread of heaven, feed me till I want no more. Bread of heaven, feed me till I want no more. So, take what's helpful and leave the rest. And until next time, may you live all the days of your life.